Preoccupations are a Canadian band from Calgary. They were formed under the name Viet Cong in 2012. And after one eponymous, is that how you pronounce that? Yeah, eponymous album, they changed their name to Preoccupations, having realised that there were people who found the name Viet Cong distressing. So this is a matter of the history of the band. I have no desire to cause similar distress. I hope I haven't done so. Since their name change, they have released three more albums. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the first album by the band, and it was released under the old name. So that's how it's listed on my channel here, and it's my first encounter with them. And possibly the best short description for this is noise rock, possibly noise drone, possibly experimental rock. I'm not sure. So let's dig into that and give a longer description. So it is an unusual sound, although I have heard other stuff with some similarities to this. I can't recall who. One of the problems that I have of going through, I love the fact that I'm doing these reviews, but there are a couple of downsides to going through so many so quickly, which is I can't always remember. I hear something and I think, oh, that reminds me. I reviewed something that was like that. Who was it? I can't remember. And finding out who from a sound is quite a difficult thing to do. Let's try and describe the sound. It's quite mushy and overdriven. It sounds a bit like, but not entirely, like it was recorded in a cathedral in such a way that all the equipment is permanently in the red and clipping and distorting. A lot of the time, it's got a very full sound, which is basically it's this kind of topped out sound of everything being full. There are drums and other instruments. At times when I was listening to it, I thought that there were synths in here, but apparently it's not. Or at least from the listing on the Wikipedia page, it only lists two guitars, drums, and bass. And given that, in fact, it's true that it is just those instruments, the range of sounds that they've got here is quite impressive. The vocals also are kind of distant, almost always harmonised, and again reminded me of someone, but I can't remember who. But actually done in a way that's fairly easy to pick out the words, which I felt was fairly unusual for this kind of stuff. So I'm not going to describe it as being dream pop, but it's kind of in some ways some of the elements of dream, some of the elements of shoegaze, but then moving into and meeting noise rock. And I'm going to mention krautrock as well in here. So the overall feeling is quite urgent. Often the drumming in particular is kind of krautrocky. The rest of the backing kind of fills it in, often with repetitive lines, and then it'll do sudden shifts of feel, or well, not just feel, of kind of the motifs. It goes into a different section, and we've suddenly got a different rhythm. It's usually at the same speed though, and whilst it's going on, it's got this kind of feeling of relentlessness. And sometimes there are passages that are quite, in some ways, quite simple, and they're just going on for a long time. So it's kind of, it feels a bit like it's kind of quite an intense watercolor wash of stuff, and then they're just maintaining that for several minutes to give you a particular feel, a particular texture that's here. It's there's quite a bit of this kind of distortion and overdrive feeling to it. Sometimes there's some odd rhythm patterns. There's sometimes bits that are discordant. There's sometimes bit where they've got detune, which gives it a kind of tension to it. None of that is done in a way that I disliked, I would say. So usually things that have these kind of aesthetics and sensibilities, I've often reacted not particularly well to them. So this time I didn't, and I actually liked it. Not hugely, but enough. Not a lot, but enough, as I said. I wasn't wishing it would end. And my question to myself always, when I have a reaction that I can't put my finger on instantly, is why. And what is it about my reactions? Part of the whole thing of me doing this series of reviews has meant that I'm on this journey of self-discovery, of trying to work out. I try to make sure I don't manufacture how I feel about an album and go, oh, I really must feel that this is a significant album, therefore I must say I like it. I try and give an honest opinion on whether I actually enjoy it or not. But working out why I enjoy some stuff and why I dislike other things has been a constant thing. I'm getting better, but I'm getting there. And there are still some that throw me off, like this. So the question for me is this because I've heard more of this stuff before and I've got my ear in, and so I'm getting more used to it? Maybe there's an element of that, but I think more is because it's musically interesting. It's got changing sections and it's got interesting interleaving with musical elements. Without the kind of blanket mush, it kind of works. Um, and with it, it still works, I would say. I didn't really pick up with about what the songs were about. So that's what I think of this album. Kind of muted. Yeah, it's okay, actually, for this kind of stuff. What do you think? Please let me know by leaving me a comment. And that's it from me for now.